Just, you know what, those crystals that my wife had when she was secularized with me, or that dream catcher that person gave me, or these other kind of occult items that are in the house, part of your role is to go sweep those up and get rid of them.
Good morning, good afternoon. I almost said good might. I don't know what that means. But good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching this. Hopefully you're having a good day. Today we're talking about the man's role in the household, specifically how he's supposed to be the priest, prophet, and king of the household. So I know that alone comes with a lot of negative connotations. People think that somebody calling the man the king of the household can be a negative thing, and some of that has to do with modern feminism, or feminism in general, and a lot of that has to do with men simply failing, because men are human and some are worse than others. So they start to look at it as more of a possessive, I'm the owner of the household, I'm the owner of everybody's lives. And so we're here to kind of talk about the differences and what it means to be the priest, prophet, and king of the household.
Sounds good. So let's break this down into three parts. Let's start with priest. What does it mean to be the priest of the household?
Right.
So some of these, and I will put a little snippet myself as well. It took me, I mean, I've heard this phrase, theology, before. Man is the priest, prophet, king of his household. I think I understood it to an extent. The priest one, I think, was the most obvious to me. Prophet, most vague. King, like you said, kind of maybe muddled, because what does that mean? So
right.
Hopefully we can dive into that a little bit and figure that out. But
I thought the prophet was more, like, that sounded weird, but we'll get to that.
Yes, we'll get to that. But priest, so what does it mean to be a priest of your household? So I think primarily you have the role in the house of leading your family to the faith, toward the faith, educating them in the faith. You also have the authority to grant blessings to your wife and your children within the household, and praying, blessing things in general, blessing the food before dinner, before breakfast, whatever the case is. So I think those are some of the couple of things that stand out to me right away about what it is to be the priest of the household. There's probably a few other things.
One quick differentiating, it's not your right, it's your duty.
Responsibility, yes.
Yeah, because some people might say, well, yeah, so you're taking ownership of the whole house and you're dominating everybody. And I think overall the same thing rolls through this whole episode, is that you're going to be, the point is to be pouring yourself out for your family, pouring yourself out to serve your family, because your goal is to get them to heaven. Your goal is to get your wife to heaven. Her goal should be to get you to heaven. So overall, when you start looking at it as what your role is in the house, it's really what your duties are, what you should be doing, not this is my right and I'm powerful over everybody else. Though sometimes that's kind of the case, but not in a domineering, do whatever I say, especially if what you're saying is wrong.
And, as a benefit, when we talk about some of this stuff, I mean, obviously we're very pro-life, we're very pro-traditional family in that sense. And when we were talking about the men being the priest and kind of the leaders of the faith, this is something that when I was secularized, actually, I heard it, and I kind of knew it was my fault. And then when I brought my family back to the faith, I knew it was my responsibility to do it. And I have this statistic here. I've seen it before. I tried pulling it up really quick. This is where some of this is really important. So you men out there who maybe came across this video and maybe you're lukewarm, right? Maybe your wife takes the kids to mass and you stay home and watch some football. You igniting your faith is one of the most important things for not only yourself but your family as well. I have here a statistic. I'm trying to read it fast, but okay. So when both mom and dad attend church, they are this 72% of the children will remain faithful within their faith. When neither parent attends, only 6% of children will be faithful. When only mom attends, it's 15%, and when only dad attends, it's 55%. So this is very important for the family. Now, if we just break that down to just the dad, so if dad comes to Christ first, there is a 93% of chance that the entire family will follow him. Where if it's mom that's coming to Christ, it's going to be only a 17% chance that the rest of the family follows, because she has to talk dad into giving up the football game and these other kind of things that might be that might surround that.
Right.
And then if the kids are the ones that ignite their faith first, it's only 3.5% of the family would end up following through that. But 93%, if you're the one who drives the faith at home, that is huge. So.
And then for them to continue on, I saw this on CatholicExchange.com. It's the same idea, but those who are going to continue to go to church long after you're passed away or not involved in their lives, I think is it's over 33% if the man is the one that's driving the household. If it's the woman, after they've moved out and they do their own thing, it's as low as 2%.
Oof.
2%. So that's not saying that the woman's role isn't important and powerful, but it's just how it is. How we react, what they see when they see dad getting up and, all right, let's go to church, without even if there's something important going on. They see dad going, I could take this job. It would be a big pay increase, but they want me to work on Sundays, and it wouldn't leave me time to go to mass. Making that priority, that mass is the number one priority on a Sunday morning. Those are the kinds of things that are going to last through their whole life. Even if when they're kids, they're kind of like, I don't want to go to mass, and can we just stay home and play video games, which could be tempting sometimes.
I was actually very fortunate, because it was my teenager when I decided, everybody's getting up Sunday, we're going to mass. Like, it was kind of a slow move for me. Like, we were raised Catholic, we hadn't gone to church in a long time, but then my oldest teenager was baptized, and when we were starting to kind of come back, it was a little slow until it wasn't. Like, we went to an Ash Wednesday Mass, and then we were even toying with the idea of just me and my wife going to Mass for a little bit until we got the kids comfortable going, because it was kind of a new thing. My oldest hadn't been for years, and so we were just trying to take it slow. But the second I stepped out of the Mass on Ash Wednesday,
right,
I said, everybody's going Sunday morning. We're not going to go Saturday. We're not going. We were talking about going like on a Wednesday when the kids were settled at home after dinner, like we'd head over to the Mass or something. And I made that call as soon as we walked out of that Mass. My wife said, I love this church. And I said, we're all coming Sunday. And then we just didn't stop from then on,
Yeah.
But there's decisions that need to be made. I mean, and I don't even know, I think most of the reasons why I wouldn't have attended Mass, one, they didn't drive home how important your Sunday obligation was in my catechesis. And that's pretty common with other Catholics that I think, what are we called? Cradle Catholics that I've ran into that were catechized really young, is that going to church Mass on Sunday wasn't really, nailed into your head that it was extremely important when it is.
Well, we should be clear. Just to clarify, I wish I was a cradle Catholic, but I was Episcopalian when I was a kid, unfortunately. And we kind of bounced around to different churches. I went to different Protestant churches and stuff until my parents were luckily drawn to the Catholic Church. At the time, I was going to a Catholic school, so I had a little bit more knowledge on the Catholic Church than even they did. But I didn't care because I was a kid and whatever. But
see, and we did go to Mass when I was a kid every Sunday.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't, even though we had been taught. Well, I think one of the main failing points of my Catholic education was them not doing good examination of consciences later in the later years, because they taught it to us when we were kids.
Yeah.
So we knew to kind of go through the 10 Commandments, but not going to Mass on Sunday wasn't a mortal sin. Not that they drove it that home, but they're not really, when you're teaching them young, that's not really, you're not having that conversation. Those conversations have to come a little bit later in the catechesis, when you're really doing good examination of conscience, really developing your faith. I think that needs to happen in the high school years, which they didn't do in our high school. So
yeah. But I mean, that's where this comes back to why it's important in the home.
Yeah.
Dad should be doing that stuff, and I'm not blaming your dad or whatever. But I know that in my family it was the same thing. You know, we my mom was the one that drove us to church. Not drove us sometimes, but for the most part, the one that you knew was getting us out of bed in the morning and making sure that we went to church was my mom. So, you know, we had that kind of just lackluster.
And it was the same here, and that might be part of the reason why I became so lukewarm over the years, was because I fell into this statistic. It was only my mom leading the faith in the family. It wasn't my dad.
Right.
I don't know psychologically that I ever really thought about that. Like, if I would have seen my dad, you know, go into mass, how it would have affected me. I don't know, but maybe I'm part of the statistic. So,
so what are the different things that a priest does in the way that a man is the priest of his home? And what, you know, there are things that we should be doing with our family, not other people's families, but the people who reside in your house, the people that you're directly taking care of. You can do things like bless your kids. If you want to learn more about this in more detail, you can always hit up Jesse Romero's podcast, or you can read some of his books. He talks about it. But the man holds this role as a priest in the way that he is, like you've already alluded to, but directing. What am I trying to say? If my kids are about to go out for the day, then what I should be doing, and I don't always, or I rarely do it because I'm not very good at, being the Catholic that I want to be. I'm working on it, but you know, you're in a state of grace. Your kids are leaving to go to McDonald's, or they're going out to school for the day, or whatever it is. Then you literally should put your hand on them, or put your hand over them with your right hand up in the air, and you pray and bless them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's not something you would do to your buddy on the street. Other people shouldn't be doing that to you. People shouldn't be laying their hands on you. By the way, that's actually a big no-no. But for you as a father, for you as a father, that's one of the things that you're doing. Another thing that priests do is that they sacrifice the Mass. They sacrifice in Mass, right? And that's something that we're doing as fathers, or we should be, is sacrificing our time, sacrificing, and again, leading the prayers, just like you would see your priest doing in a Mass or whatever. Sorry, now I'm rambling.
No, you're fine. I think I've got another couple that might kind of go in tandem with this, and this is something that we did shortly after coming in, which is also cleansing the house in a sense, right? Making sure that, especially
not using sage though, right?
Not with sage, holy water,
right? So,
but one of the things is coming back into the faith after being out of it, is we did find, you know, as we're going to Mass, and then I'm starting to notice, you know what, those crystals that my wife had when she was doing that, when she was, you know, secularized with me, or that dream catcher that person gave me, or these other kind of occult items that are in the house. Part of your role is to go sweep those up and get rid of them. And I guess part of that kind of leads into the next thing, which would be having that domicile church. So your house, your home, really should be a church away from church. So filling it in with holy imagery. You know, we have a altar at our house, I guess you can call it, with we've got the crucifix, and we've got a Bible, and we've got a place to stop. It's right before we leave the house. So a lot of times, right when we're leaving to go to school, I make the kids all stop there. We say a prayer before we leave. We move on. We've got holy water there.
Right.
We've got holy water fountains at our doors. Just trying to do anything you can to make the house as much like church as possible.
Right.
And running with that. So I think cleansing of occult items, like I've mentioned before, would be part of making it into a church. So.
Right. So there's a lot of ways that you can think of what a priest does, but think of what a father does. Father/priest. So there are a lot of similarities when you really break down what a priest is. I know that a lot of Protestants say you call no man father, but they're not reading the whole context of what that means. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways that we could talk about the priestly duties, but in a nutshell, that's kind of it. It's just you're the spiritual. Your people are looking to you to be the guide in a spiritual sense. So I think right there, we should probably take a quick break, and we will be back to talk more about profit. What the heck does a profit mean? How are you a profit in your house? So we'll be right back.